Behind the maps and the archives are the architects who drew the lines. In this video, we explore the history of Israel and the visionaries who transformed an ancient dream into a modern state. From the ancient prayers of exile to the modern blueprints of a nation, Jerusalem stands as the crossroads where prophecy meets politics. In the Iron Age, the kingdoms of Israel and Judah were established, entities central to the origins of the Abrahamic religions. This has given rise to Judaism, Samaritanism, Christianity, Islam, Druzeism, Baha'ism. The land of Israel has seen many conflicts, been controlled by various polities, and hosted various ethnic groups. In the following centuries, the Assyrian, Babylonian, Achaemenid, and Macedonian empires conquered the region. Through the Hasmonean dynasty, the Jews maintained independence for a century before incorporation into the Roman Republic. As a result of the Jewish-Roman wars in the 1st and 2nd centuries CE, many Jews were killed or sold into slavery. Following the advent of Christianity, demographics shifted towards newfound Christians, who replaced Jews as the majority by the 4th century. In the 7th century, Byzantine Christian rule over Israel was superseded in the Muslim conquest of the Levant by the Rashidun Caliphate, to later be ruled by the Umayyad, Abbasid, and Fatimid Caliphates, before being conquered by the Seljuks in the 1070s. Throughout the 12th and 13th centuries, the land of Israel saw wars between Christians and Muslims, as part of the Crusades, with the Kingdom of Jerusalem overrun by Saladin Ayyubi in the 12th century. The Crusaders hung on to decreasing territories for another century. In the 13th century, the land of Israel became subject to Mongol conquest, though this was stopped by the Mamluk Sultanate, under whose rule it remained until the 16th century. The Mamluks were defeated by the Ottoman Empire, and the region became an Ottoman province until the early 20th century. The 19th century saw the rise of a Jewish nationalist movement in Europe known as Zionism. Aliyah, Jewish immigration to Israel from the diaspora, increased. During World War I, the Sinai and Palestine campaign of the Allies led to the partition of the Ottoman Empire. Britain was granted control of the region by a League of Nations mandate, known as Mandatory Palestine. The British committed to the creation of a Jewish homeland in the 1917 Balfour Declaration. Palestinian Arabs sought to prevent Jewish immigration, and tensions grew during British administration. In 1947, the UN voted for the partition of Mandate Palestine and creation of a Jewish and Arab state. The Jews accepted the plan, while the Arabs rejected it. A civil war ensued, won by the Jews. After the fall of the Ottoman Empire in 1922, the United Kingdom announced its intention in 1947 to withdraw its forces from Palestine and endorsed United Nations Resolution 181, which partitioned the British Mandate into a Jewish state and an Arab state. The plan, although accepted by the international community, was rejected by the Arabs, and in May 1948, as British forces withdrew, Israel was born in a region with unresolved disputes over borders, security, land ownership, and other matters. Since that time, Israel has fought a number of conflicts with various Arab forces, most notably in 1948-49, 1956, 1967, 1973, 1982, 2006, and 2023 present. In May 1948, the Israeli Declaration of Independence sparked the 1948 war in which Israel repelled the armies of the neighboring states. It resulted in the 1948 Palestinian expulsion and flight and led to Jewish emigration from other parts of the Middle East. About 40% of the global Jewish population resides in Israel. But for a people defined by their past, history wasn't just a record of where they had been, it became the blueprint for where they needed to return. That blueprint is known as Zionism. Theodor Herzl is widely recognized as the visionary of the state and the father of modern political Zionism. Although he died 44 years before Israel declared independence in 1948, his work transformed a centuries-old spiritual longing into a concrete political movement. He concluded that regardless of how much Jews tried to assimilate, they would always be viewed as outsiders. This led him to believe that the only solution was the establishment of a sovereign Jewish state. Herzl convened this historic meeting in Basel, Switzerland, bringing together 208 delegates from 17 countries. Herzl spent the remainder of his life acting as a statesman without a state. He met with global leaders, including the Ottoman Sultan Abdul Hamid II, German Kaiser Wilhelm II, and British officials, to lobby for a Jewish homeland, successfully placing the Zionist cause on the international diplomatic stage. In 1903, the British government offered 6,000 square miles, 15,500 square km, of land in Uganda for settlement, but the Zionists held out for Palestine. At the death of Herzl in 1904, the leadership moved from Vienna to Cologne and then to Berlin. Prior to World War I, Zionism represented only a minority of Jews, mostly from Russia but led by Austrians and Germans. It developed propaganda through orators and pamphlets, created its own newspapers, and gave an impetus to what was called a Jewish Renaissance in letters and arts. The development of the modern Hebrew language largely took place during that period. The birth of Israel on May 14, 1948, was a high-stakes diplomatic race. While the United Nations had approved a partition plan in 1947, the actual official recognition of the new state happened in two waves: de facto recognizing the government exists, and de jure full, formal diplomatic recognition. Here are the key countries that moved first. The Americas: USA, Canada, Brazil, Venezuela, Uruguay, Guatemala, Panama. Europe: USSR, France, Iceland, Norway, Luxembourg, Netherlands, Poland, Czechoslovakia. Oceania: Australia, New Zealand. Africa: Liberia, South Africa. The United Kingdom. Despite being the landlord during the Mandate, the UK did not recognize Israel until January 1949. Turkey. In 1949, Turkey became the first Muslim-majority nation to recognize Israel, acting as a vital diplomatic bridge in the region. Iran. In 1950, Iran under the Shah granted de facto recognition, establishing a long period of cooperation that lasted until 1979. Why did they support it? Post-World War II guilt, sympathy. The horrors of the Holocaust created a global consensus that the Jewish people needed a safe haven. Cold War strategy. Both the US and USSR wanted a foothold in the Middle East and initially saw Israel as a potential democratic or socialist ally. Religious ties. Many Latin American and European countries had strong Christian Zionist populations who viewed the return to Israel as a biblical fulfillment. Iran, Saudi Arabia, Syria, Lebanon, Iraq, Kuwait. Pakistan, Indonesia, Malaysia, Bangladesh, Afghanistan, and Korea, Algeria, Libya, Tunisia, Sudan, Somalia, Mali, Niger, Cuba, Venezuela. These nations have maintained a policy of non-recognition since 1948, primarily citing the lack of a sovereign Palestinian state as the barrier. The conflict involves a complex mix of historical, territorial, and ideological reasons that have evolved over decades. It is not just one fight, but several different types of conflict happening at once. David Ben-Gurion, the primary founder and first prime minister, he made the official declaration of independence in 1948. Chaim Weizmann, a chemist and diplomat who secured the Balfour Declaration and served as Israel's first president. Golda Meir, instrumental in fundraising in the US and served as a key diplomat and later prime minister. Ze'ev Jabotinsky, founder of revisionist Zionism, emphasizing the need for a Jewish military force. Moshe Sharett, Israel's first foreign minister, he was the chief architect of the diplomatic efforts at the UN. Abba Eban, known as the voice of Israel, his eloquence at the United Nations helped secure international recognition. Harry S. Truman, the US president whose rapid recognition of the state was vital for its survival. Arthur Balfour, the British Foreign Secretary whose 1917 Balfour Declaration gave the movement its first major legal backing. Herbert Samuel, a British Jew who served as the first High Commissioner for Palestine, facilitating early Jewish governance. Nahum Sokolow, a diplomat and writer who worked alongside Weizmann to gain European support for a Jewish home. Without significant capital, the purchase of land and the building of infrastructure would have been impossible. 11. Baron Edmund James de Rothschild, known as the known benefactor, he poured millions into early agricultural settlements. 12. Sir Moses Montefiore, a British financier who made 7 trips to the Holy Land, funding the first Jewish neighborhood outside Jerusalem's walls. 13. Maurice de Hirsch, a billionaire who founded the Jewish Colonization Association to assist Jewish emigration. 14. Jacob Schiff, a powerful American banker who funded various Jewish cultural and educational institutions in Palestine. 15. Rebecca Seif, co-founder of WIZO, Women's International Zionist Organization. She was a powerhouse in social welfare and fundraising. 16. Henrietta Zold, founder of Hadassah, the Women's Zionist Organization of America, which built Israel's healthcare system. Rabbi Abraham Isaac Kook, the first Ashkenazi chief rabbi of Mandatory Palestine, he bridged the gap between secular Zionists and the religious community. 18. Rabbi Judah Alkali, a Sephardic rabbi who was one of the first to argue for a natural, human-led return to Israel rather than waiting for a miraculous one. 19. Rabbi Zvi Hirsch Kalischer, an early proponent of religious Zionism who advocated for the purchase of land for farming. 20. Rabbi Isaac Jacob Reines, founder of Mizrachi, the first organized religious Zionist movement. 21. Ahad Ha'am Asher Ginsburg, the father of cultural Zionism, who argued that Israel should be a spiritual center for all Jews. 22. Eliezer ben Yehuda, the man primarily responsible for reviving Hebrew as a spoken, modern language. These individuals organized the defense and tactical operations necessary for statehood. 23. Menachem Begin, leader of the Irgun Underground and later prime minister, he was a fierce advocate for Jewish sovereignty. 24. Yitzhak Shamir, a leader of the Lehi Stern Group Underground who later served as prime minister. 25. Yigal Allon, a commander of the Palmach Elite Strike Force and a key military strategist during the 1948 war. 26. Ord Wingate, a British officer who trained Jewish forces in unconventional warfare, known as the Friend. 27. Joseph Trumpeldor, a war hero whose defense of Tel Hai became a symbol of Jewish resilience and courage. Leon Pinsker, author of Auto-Emancipation, he urged Jews to organize for self-determination long before Herzl. Arthur Ruppin, the father of Jewish settlement, he used sociological data to plan the layout of cities and kibbutzim. Burl Katznelson, an intellectual leader of labor Zionism who founded the Histadrut labor union and Devar newspaper. A.D. Gordon, he believed that the Jewish people had become sick because they were disconnected from nature and physical work. His most important contribution was the idea that physical labor on the land is a holy act that heals the soul. Moshe Dayan, his most important contribution was leading the 1967 Six-Day War, which resulted in the reunification of Jerusalem. Max Nordau, he argued that after centuries of living in cramped European ghettos, Jews needed to focus on physical fitness, sports, and strength to regain their national pride and prepare for the hardships of building a state.